How can you make sure that you always win the fight against your urges and never relapse again? Or even better, how can you get rid of your urges completely? If you've struggled with any kind of addiction, you've probably asked yourself these questions. It would be so nice to not be in this constant struggle anymore and to finally escape this constant cycle of relapse and frustration. In this video, I'll share with you the paradox that's at the heart of this struggle. Once you understand this, you'll see why you've had such struggles in the past and why the only solution is a completely different approach. So let's get right into it. Trying to get rid of a bad habit or trying to fight and defeat your urges is fundamentally paradoxical. And it's because of a psychological principle called what you resist persists. This was an idea first coined by Carl Jung. And the full quote is, "What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size." So what he's saying is that the harder you try to push something away, the more of it you get. And this is exactly why fighting your urges feels like an uphill battle. It seems to be one of life's hidden rules, that you always get more of whatever you put your time, energy, and attention into. So if we take the example of porn addiction, what happens if you're constantly thinking about your nofap streak, feeling like a failure because you're still struggling with addiction, feeling bad about the last time you relapsed, fighting your urges, wishing you didn't have this problem, and so on and so forth? Well, with all of this, you're basically feeding your addiction with your time and attention and energy. Even if it feels like you're doing the opposite, you're fighting it, you're trying to push it away, you're trying to get away from it, but the result is the same. You are directing your focus towards this problem in your life, and as a result of that, you keep getting more of this problem. Now, this may sound like kind of a spiritual and woo-woo idea, but there's actually a solid neurological basis for why this happens. So let's look at that next. But first, if you want to know the best techniques for overcoming your bad habits and get support from myself and other helpful community members, check out the first link in the description. There you can sign up to the Quit by Healing Discord community. In there, I've posted several step-by-step courses completely for free that will help you get unhooked. You can't really undo a bad habit. So in simple terms, here's how habits work in the brain. Any action you perform is basically a series of neurons firing in your brain. Even something really simple, like say taking a bite out of a cookie, involves a lot of brain activity. There's lots of neurons that have to fire in the right order in order for me to move my arm and my hand to grasp the cookie, to move it to my mouth and take the bite. And if this sequence of neurons doesn't fire in exactly the right way, I'm not going to get the result I want. And in fact, the sequence starts even sooner because at some point I feel slightly hungry, I feel like having a snack, I go to the kitchen, I grab a cookie, I take a bite, and then what happens? Well, it's a very rewarding experience. I get these strong sensations of taste in my mouth, I get a sugar rush, and that makes me want to do the same thing again. So next time I feel like having a snack, the same sequence of events runs in my brain, ending up with the same reward of a cookie in my mouth. So you can imagine that there is a eat a cookie pathway in my brain, and the more often I do this action, the more strongly ingrained that pathway becomes. Repeating an action makes the connections in my brain stronger and stronger. And the stronger those connections, the more automatically I will fall into this same behavior pattern. So this is how habits come about. Rewards reinforce behavior and repetition builds habits. This is the reason why it's so easy for you to grab some food and put it in your mouth, because you've done that so many times that it's completely automatic. You don't even have to think about it. You never think, oh, I have to move my hand over there because there's food over there. It basically just happens by itself. That is what a deeply ingrained habit feels like. It feels like you don't have to do anything. It just happens by itself. Now, for many things in life, this is wonderful. It's great that you can walk down the street without having to think, oh, okay, I have to lift my right foot and then move it forward and then put it down and then lift my left foot and so on, right? We have to automate this behavior, otherwise we couldn't really function in the world. But if the behavior is something like eating a cookie, it can lead to trouble. Even though it feels very rewarding to do it, it's not good for me. And maybe suddenly I'm developing diabetes and I'm getting unhealthy and my teeth are falling out and so on. And I go, uh-oh, I want to stop automatically eating cookies all the time. How do I do that? How can I undo that strong cookie eating pathway in my brain? And the answer is basically I can't. All you can do is you can strengthen behavior. You can reinforce behavioral pathways in your brain, but you can't actively weaken them. And if anything, the more I think about how much I need to avoid eating cookies, the more I'm thinking about cookies and the more I'm probably going to end up eating cookies. So see how we've arrived at the same point? Even on a neurological level, I can't directly fight or undo my bad habits. But don't worry, there is a solution to this problem. In fact, this may be the greatest secret in all of self-improvement. I don't know why I don't see more people talk about this. This is a fundamental truth about how human behavior works, about how life works. And it really is the key to so many things that people struggle with. So we've established that you can't get rid of your bad habits or your urges by fighting them, by trying to push them away. But there is one thing you can do to weaken addictions and bad habits and urges. And that thing is displacement. So what is displacement? Let's talk about it through the same two lenses we've used so far. First, how it works in the brain, and then what that means for how it works in life in general. So we look at the human brain, we've established that repeated behavior creates strong pathways and habits in the brain. And while we can't do anything to directly weaken or undo one of these pathways, what we can do is develop and strengthen a different one. So let's say that when I feel like having a snack, I start making a habit of eating some nuts instead of eating cookies. Still tasty, but this time also healthy. Plus, the nuts are more filling, so I probably won't feel like having a snack again 20 minutes later when the sugar rush dies off. The result of this is that I'm training a new pathway in my brain that goes, when I feel like having a snack, eat nuts, instead of when I feel like having a snack, eat cookies. Now in the beginning, I'll have to make an effort to do this. I'll have to remind myself, no, don't go for the cookies, go for the nuts instead. But the more often I do this, the easier it gets. And eventually it will be what happens automatically without even having to think about it. At that point, it's become a habit. And what that basically means is that the snack on nuts pathway in my brain has become stronger than the snack on cookies pathway. Because I keep using the snack on nuts pathway in my brain, those connections keep getting stronger. And because I'm no longer using the snack on cookies pathway, those connections slowly over time get weaker and fade away. This is really the only way I can undo a habit. I have to do a different thing. I have to build a different pathway in my brain, because the only way I can undo a habit pathway in my brain is through inactivity, through basically neglecting it. So here's how this same principle applies to anything in your life. You change your behavior and ultimately the outcomes you get in life by spending your time, energy, and attention on the things that you want to see more of in your life. Direct your attention towards new habits, new activities, and new ideas, and slowly over time, the old ones will fade away. So we can bring this back and apply this to porn addiction or any unhealthy habit you want to eliminate from your life. You don't get rid of your urges by fighting them, because then you're just repeating the same behaviors. You're getting more of the thing you're trying to push away. Your urges go away eventually when you live a good, experience-rich life. Focus your energy on building good replacement habits. Focus your mind on new and interesting ideas. Occupy the space of your attention, your mind, and your consciousness with things other than what you want to get rid of. The ideal case is that you have no time to think about pornography or worry about your urges or whatever, because you're too busy creating things, doing meaningful work, learning, making friends, going on adventures, and so on. This is how you can reshape and heal your brain. You form new habits, you strengthen those new pathways, and eventually, over time, those old ones wither and die. Okay, now that you know how the displacement principle works, you know what you can and what you can't do to change your bad habits and overcome your urges. But there's one more thing we have to talk about, one thing you have to avoid to make sure you don't get stuck in this process. First, if you appreciate the kind of content I make, leave it a like and leave a comment below for the algorithm. It really helps massively in getting this content out to more people. I want to get these ideas and tools to as many people as possible, but I can only do it with your help. So the final point we have to look at is this. You really have to avoid other dopamine traps too if you want to fully overcome porn addiction. If you try to avoid porn, but you fill most of your time with scrolling through various social media and playing video games and seeking distraction and entertainment, it will always be a huge struggle. The problem is that a lot of this activity is also addictive in similar ways to pornography, but it also creates a feeling of an empty and meaningless life. You always end up finding yourself at some point alone, bored with too much time on your hand, and some kind of existential dread lurking in the back of your mind. And that is a huge trigger to get back to pornography or other highly addictive things. If you want to truly heal your brain from these addictions, there's no way around filling your life with other activity, including a lot of off-screen activity. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that you can never play a video game or use social media. These things are perfectly fine in moderation. But we have to be real about this. These are highly addictive things, and they are commonly triggers that lead you like further down the rabbit hole into even more addictive behavior, such as pornography. If your life mostly consists of consuming stuff off of screens, then it is very, very difficult to get unhooked from porn. And that's why on this channel, I talk a lot about these replacement habits. And in my Discord community, we talk about exercise, training your brain, training your social skills, doing all of these things in real life that take you away from the screens, take you away from that spiral down the rabbit hole. All right, that's it for now. That is my answer to exactly what you need to do to get rid of your urges and overcome your bad habits. Give it a try and let me know how it goes. And of course, if you have a question about this, you can always leave a comment below or post it in the Quit by Healing Discord community. And also check out this video next.